Hey, welcome back. My name's still Abraham, even though I've changed location, changed shirt, and got myself a coffee. I wanted to make this comfortable, and I really want you to be able to feel like I can be a friend, someone who can be supportive to you. Well, actually, you're learning how can I look after someone when I don't even know what's wrong with them. Now, this first video, or second technically, is going to be all about what is ADHD. I've got sort of two areas that it fits into. Part of it is how does it affect the person? How does it affect the individual and they function in the world? And the second one is a little bit about the brain chemistry. Now, don't worry, I'm actually going to do the chemistry first. It's going to be a little bit crazy, but super simple. A lot of people will have heard of serotonin. It's one of the things in your brain that helps you make decisions, help you choose things. I'll find my little notes that I had written on it. Serotonin plays a role in attention and cognition, especially executive functioning and reward processing. It's a key contributor to behavioral adaptation and to the processes necessary for getting ready to do things based on what you think, for preparing voluntary action following your ideas. So I might say, I really want to work on this topic. And then serotonin, in the way that it works in my brain, helps me to actually start working. Now, that's basically how it works. But one of the major problems with people with ADHD is that their brain doesn't know how to use serotonin properly. It's made all these mistakes. And so there are problems for people with ADHD with their attention and their cognition, their understanding, especially in how they organize themselves, their executive functioning. Now, executive functioning is a bit of a blanket term and it's a bit big, but I actually thought the reason why I started with the chemistry is because I landed on that word, that phrase, executive functioning. Now, there's a wonderful model by a guy called Dr. Thomas Brown. He spent the last 25 years in working in ADHD and actually studying and communicating and doing comparative research on people with ADHD and people without ADHD, particularly children, teens, and adolescents, and saying, what are some of the areas that particularly people with ADHD struggle in? And he's found 6. I'm not expecting you to remember. Oh, I've just put up 5 fingers. That feels very silly. I'm not expecting you to remember all 6 of them off the top of your head. But he's found 6 areas: activation, focus, effort, emotion, memory, and action. I'm going to go over them a little bit more in detail and actually give some examples of what they look like when we're talking about them. So it's really important. I'm going to reading this from some of the notes that he's written down as well. Although that model has 6 different areas, each of those functions, activation, focus, effort, emotion, memory, and action, continually work together, usually in most people in a way that you don't even notice, you don't even process, to help you manage tasks of day-to-day life. And they appear in their basic forms in young children, and everyone has occasionally issues with their focus, has occasionally issues with their executive function, with starting tasks, with staying on task, with managing the amount of effort you have, with managing your emotions, your memory, and your action. But particularly people with ADHD experience much more difficulty in the development and in using those things than other people of the same age and development. They might even have chronic difficulty doing it in most areas of life. And you might have been able to see in your child, you think, well, how could my child have ADHD when they're so good in this one area? Like maybe it's playing sports or video games or doing art or building Lego constructions, and their ADHD symptoms, you can't even see it when they're doing that task. And there's a phenomenon of why can you do it here, but you can't do it anywhere else, which makes it look like ADHD is just a problem of not having the right mindset. You don't have the willpower to make yourself do something, but it's not. These problems are actually because of issues in the way your brain chemistry works, in the way that serotonin works, that doesn't let you do tasks that you might want to do. I'm going to give you a bit of example on each of them. Activation, it's all about organizing tasks and materials, estimating time, prioritizing, and getting started work. And a lot of patients with ADHD, and even your child might, if you've got a child who's maybe 14, 15, 16, 17, they might be able to vocalize this to you if you ask them. Whereas one of the younger kids might not be able to yet. But they describe a real difficulty with procrastination, more so than everybody else. They'll put off getting started on a task, even something they know is really important, until the very last minute, as if they can't get themselves started until it's actually an emergency. Your kids might be working on assignments and you think, why have you only just gotten started on the last day? Well, sometimes it's really hard. They can't sit down and make it work. They've got all this time beforehand and they're preparing and they're preparing, and then they just can't sit down and do it. Focus is the second one. Focusing or sustaining focus and shifting focus to tasks separate to activation. Some people describe the difficulty in keeping focus as similar to trying to listen to the car radio when you drive too far away from the station and it begins fading in and out. You get some of it and lose some of it. They're distracted really easily by things that are going on around them, and also by thoughts in their own heads. And in addition, focusing on reading, for example, is really hard for a lot of people. For a lot of people with ADHD, words are generally understood as they're read, but you have to read them over and over and over again because they just don't stay in there. They can't keep focus. Effort is our third one. Regulating alertness, sustaining effort, and processing speed are three of the things that kind of fall under that. Many people with ADHD report that they find short-term projects pretty easy, but doing sustained projects, effort over a longer period of time, you've got to manage and meter yourself out. Maybe it is, I don't want to use assignments again as an example, but that's a really close one to people who are in, for example, high school. They might have been given 3 weeks to work on something and they just can't chip away at it in the right way. They might also have chronic issues with regulating their sleep and being awake. Often they stay up way too late because they can't turn their brain off while they're trying to go to sleep. But once they get to sleep, they sleep like the dead and you'll never wake them up. And what's going to happen in the morning? They're late for school, they're late for everything, and then they're just tired again that evening. Emotion. Managing frustration and modulating emotions can be a really challenging aspect of ADHD. And many with this disorder describe real difficulties managing frustration, anger, worry, disappointment, desire, and a lot of other emotions. And they speak as though, we talk as though when those emotions, when you feel them, they take over your whole head and you can't think about anything else. Maybe you're walking past a colleague at work and you usually talk to them. You're looking forward to saying hello to them. You go, oh, hey, James. I'm just using a random name off the top of my head. Hey, James. And James says, hello, goodbye, walks off and off to their desk. Now, that's a really normal exchange. You might go, oh, well, James is probably busy. Someone with ADHD might really struggle with that, where they go, what did I say? Did I do something wrong? Are they mad at me? Is everyone mad at me? And not being able to realize it's fine. You're fine. That's a normal thing. 5, memory. Utilizing your working memory and actually getting that information. I'm sure you've heard about this, but a lot of people with ADHD they just can't remember anything. They lose everything. I've kept a hold of this coffee cup. I feel like if I put it down on the table next to me, it'll disappear and I'll never see it again. There's sometimes really, really hard using your working memory. Right now, right here, where did I put that thing? Where did I put that pen? Where did I put my phone? Where did I put my keys? Where did I put my bowl of food? Turns out it was in the microwave, a very normal place, but disappeared. An action. Monitoring and regulating self-action. Many people with ADHD, even those without hyperactive behavior and having those other symptoms, report chronic problems in regulating their actions. They're too impulsive in what they say and what they do and the way they think, and jump too quickly to wrong conclusions. And people with ADHD also report problems in understanding the context where they're interacting. They don't notice when other people are puzzled or hurt or annoyed by what they've just said or done. And then they can't change their behavior because they just don't realize they've done something wrong. Those are some of the major ways that we can actually see ADHD working in someone's life. Things they'll have issues with. They'll have issues with sleep, with action, with remembering emotion, with effort, with focus, and with activation. Thanks for listening. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again. And I hope this has been helpful for you. And actually, I'm going to make sure some of these resources are available. We've got a page that's going to be sitting down there that says, so you want to read more. This is just opening the door for you. Let's go. Let's walk through together. Thanks.